So GitLab provides customers with the opportunity to open up new revenue streams and grow in an accelerated manner through having a single DevOps platform with which to develop their software. Yeah, so I'd say two main ones. One is very topical, one is a kind of more generic use case. The current economic climate, we're seeing a lot of companies wanting to save costs, so consolidating down into one DevOps tool is very high on the agenda for a lot of companies at the moment. And Gartner are predicting that the majority of the market will move towards a single DevOps platform by 2024. The other use case we see a lot is companies that do a lot of mergers and acquisitions are moving to GitLab so that they can have all the developers, regardless of their background, on a single tool that everyone's familiar with and everyone likes. Because particularly from a security perspective, they need everyone to be developing in a secure manner, in a standardized manner, and GitLab is really the only solution for that. So, DevSecOps is both a buzzword, but also particularly important. The value in having potential security problems fixed at the code creation stage as opposed to the production stage is enormous. The cost of fixing a problem later on in the development cycle is astronomical by comparison. So we were talking a lot about the value of having a single DevOps platform that truly shifts left, where a developer can hit commit, and as the pipeline's running, it will tell them where any security vulnerabilities are. But not only that, it'll also show them how to fix it as well. So the kind of cost saving and efficiency gains through that is really, really high. And that's GitLab's raison d'etre. So yeah, we're super excited about talking to the market a bit more about what GitLab can do for DevSecOps. Not so much new products, but one of the really great things about GitLab is that we release new features every single month without fail. So the best kind of example of how good GitLab is as a tool is that we use it internally, and we have released every month on time for the last, how many months has it been now? It must be close to 100, if not longer. We have released over 100 new features in the last 12 months alone. So for our customers, the product that they buy today is not the same product that they'll have in 12 months' time. Our product roadmap is actually published on our website. It's public for everyone to see. We talk about the maturity of each of our features. We will be investing more in our security capabilities. As always, it's always a big area for us. And also more in our ability to allow customers to measure how they're doing through value stream analytics and DORA metrics.
And what we do is we try to help customers on their cloud journey, right? So we try and talk as much as possible about the cloud operating model. So we provide an infrastructure tool set that helps companies to get ready for the cloud. All these new ways of working in the cloud, microservices, enabling you to refactor your applications, to move your applications to the cloud. We provide tooling to build that infrastructure for you. Yeah, I think one of our main tools, probably, even if people haven't heard about HashiCorp, they have heard about Terraform. And I think Terraform is a very prominent tool, in the whole industry. It's becoming the default standard for infrastructure as code. So it's kind of the basis beneath the whole thing, right? So even all our other tools are kind of controlled through Terraform if you want. I mean, it's not necessary, but that's the preferred way, I guess. And it just helps you to shift to a new paradigm where in the past you would go into each individual tool, do your manual configuration, and now you can have a common workflow to achieve changes throughout your infrastructure, version it, push it out. So yeah, that's a real deal breaker. That's a tool that a lot of people really like. I think if you look across the market, Terraform, that's definitely an industry standard by now. Then we have Vault, which is also, quite prominent. A lot of people know it. We have quite a few customers there. But what we really see picking up lately is, Console. And Console is our answer to a service mesh. So that's something that people are discovering and are looking into as we progress further down the line. We're now at a stage I think for a lot of companies where they have some stuff in the cloud. They're finding out like, oh, okay, now we have these different cloud environments, multi-cloud, different cloud providers. How do we now bridge that together? How do we enable communication between these different clouds and structure that, make it secure? How do we enforce policies? And that's really where Console comes in. And we see a lot of uptick there. On the other hand, also we have a product called Nomad. It's an orchestrator, right? And we also see a lot of people who, of course, tested, tried Kubernetes, but then because their use case is different, or because of complexity, or they start looking into what we have to offer. So that's something we really see.
Portworx offer the ability to bring state into Kubernetes. So this lets you bring the containerization process that was really only for stateless things originally over to using stateful applications in Kubernetes. And this really means that you can build that business case beyond sort of the 44% of things that are stateless and opened up fully to everything that state can do. So we see all sorts of apps moving in, from tier 1 banking apps running in Kubernetes, so the most stateful of stateful apps, through to this idea of polyglot persistence, where you want to piece in a certain database and you want to make the ability to experiment very easy for your developers, so they can build apps that are more consumable, more useful to the consumers, right? Because ultimately, the rate at which you can get an idea from that idea state to production is what makes a company successful. Yeah, absolutely. So we moved beyond just running state and giving you that persistence in Kubernetes to providing database as a service. So I like to say you're not buying the cow, you're just buying the cream. So now you can run database as a service anywhere. Anywhere that Kubernetes is, you can run it with Portworx, helping you provide that cloud-like experience. And we've just released Mongo this week onto there, which is probably the most asked for feature in that area. And just recently at KubeCon Detroit, we released a backup product. We do Kubernetes application consistent backups, but we've got a 1 terabyte for free forever as a SaaS product now as well. So if you've got a database, a stateful app that needs backup in Kubernetes, you can get a terabyte for free forever from us as well.
We just landed here in Europe actually back in February. We are an American-based company. We are established in 2019. We are a Series B company, 70 million in the bank, and the product we offer is called Pallet. And what Pallet does is actually the next generation Kubernetes management platform. And what it means is it's actually a combination of an infrastructure as code solution and a Kubernetes management platform. So we set the desired state of how you want your clusters to look like. And that is in a nutshell Pallet. I can explain more, but maybe you have other questions. So we have a couple of customers. One of the customers is GE Healthcare. What they have CT scans at hospitals. And CT scans, you can imagine, is full of software. They run Kubernetes, and on top of Kubernetes they run containers and they run their software on it. But in some of the hospitals they have access to via the internet. Some of the hospitals are too small, or they just don't allow to have access. So what they do is, with Pallet, we kind of separate the control plane from the management plane. So the control plane is basically in the edge, or in this case the CT scans. And all the layers, all the software that they need to update, they can do using 4G or whatever, by just updating the layer inside those hospitals. With that, they're saving $20 million per year in man hours, not having to go with a USB stick or an ISO CD-ROM to update those CT scans. This is all done without downtime. They just run a test, like 400 different clusters that they needed to upgrade without any downtime within an hour, and building 100 EC2 instances at the same time. So also one important thing to note is we use actually an open source solution which is called Cluster API. And Cluster API is actually doing the day two operations of the infrastructure that comes with Kubernetes. So the OS, Kubernetes itself, storage and networking. We have extended that capability, that cluster capability, to run through all the complete stack, all the other solutions that you need to run Kubernetes properly in production. For example, the load balancing, service mesh, HashiCorp if you have, all the solutions that you need to run Kubernetes smoothly. Those are layers that you need to manage yourself as well. Today that's done with either via scripting or manually. We automate this. We have like a 2-minute reconciliation loops. So every 2 minutes it's checking if your clusters are still the same. This is also to avoid configuration drift. We have built-in security scanners. So it will tell you if one of your clusters is out of sync, and every 2 minutes it's changing it back to what you want it to be. It's like magic.
Yeah, sure. So Styra, we're the creators of Open Policy Agent, which is a CNCF graduated open source project. So we are leaders in the cloud native authorization space. So if you are looking to do things like Kubernetes as mission control, put guardrails around Terraform, or do API or microservices authorization, then Open Policy Agent is a great general purpose policy agent for those types of use cases. And we as Styra provide a management platform that helps you to distribute OPA and then manage policy lifecycle, do decision logging, audit, compliance, all of those types of things. Yeah, we're seeing a real growth in use of Kubernetes. So people that use of Kubernetes in that project is becoming really mature now. We're seeing people far more interested in how they can do more complex policy-based access control and kind of general policy as code around Kubernetes. So that's one use case. We see a lot of people doing infrastructure as code, using tools like Terraform and Ansible, again wanting to put policy guardrails around automation, or maybe wanting to introduce guardrails into the software supply chain. Those are the key use cases that we're seeing at the moment. Yeah, sure. So the talk today was about zero trust around microservices and how you can use OPA and policy-based access control to secure a microservices environment and an application environment. So we did a talk on that today, and we also did a workshop around application authorization. Yeah, loads on the roadmap. I think the next year is really about kind of ease of use and helping people to get going more quickly with Styra and Open Policy Agent. So a lot of investment in out-of-the-box rules around some of the core use cases like Kubernetes, Terraform, application authorization, Kong Gateway, Envoy, Istio, those types of technologies. And then a big focus on how we can help people improve guardrails around Terraform, so a lot of investment around that. And then also on the application side, improving the developer experience for getting going with application authorization quickly.
For sure. So Sysdig is the cloud-native threat detection company. So we help you secure your containers, your cloud, and also your more traditional workloads. And that's basically what we do, for sure. And that, especially given our open source background, of course. Sysdig is the company behind the open source threat detection engine Falco, which we donated to the CNCF. And I think that's also where we started off from a security perspective. Very focused on, but not limited to, Kubernetes. And what we see a lot with companies who are in their DevOps transition and adopting microservices and such, that their traditional host-based tooling does not give them the visibility that they require to look in that cloud-native threat landscape that is evolving. So what we see with our customers, the biggest difficulty that they have is, okay, hey, what is happening inside of these black boxes, right? They're immutable, they're ephemeral, dozens running on the same host machine. What happens inside these containers? And what kind of visibility do I have the moment that they get killed? Because everything inside that container is gone. How do I get the right visibility to act upon security threats that are impacting these ephemeral cloud-native environments. So Marcel Klaassen, the regional solutions architect, did a demo and a presentation on how a threat actor could exploit a vulnerable application based on a big example that we had in the past year, the Log4j vulnerability, and how that Log4j vulnerability can be leveraged to get inside of your Kubernetes environment, do lateral movement or even extraction of data. And the talk today is about, okay, if you need to mitigate that risk right here, right now, what are the direct actions you can take to close off your environment and to mitigate the risk immediately, and what you can do in long term to make sure that that exploit cannot be exploited again in different applications or different services. So at Sysdig, we built a cloud-native application protection platform. It's called CNAP. And what we do is that we help our clients to secure their cloud-native deployments, either on-prem or in the cloud. And we help them with the security around everything Kubernetes, cloud.
So Torque is a no-code automation platform for security and operation teams. Our mission is basically to enable anyone in security teams, in IT operation teams, to take a process that they currently run manually and convert it into something that happens automatically, deciding whether they want to remove the human factor completely out of it or just bring humans into the automation loop at the required point. And the most important part of this is really to enable anyone, no coding experience required for that. So the talk was about comparing traditional security orchestration and response platform, traditional ways of trying to do automation on cybersecurity with Torque. The content was really around pretty much, so the promise, the need for security, for automation in security operations is well known. I think that very few people would question that need, because today the job of security teams, and particularly the SOC team, is driven by manually executed processes, which are also filled with repetitive tasks. So they are the perfect candidate for automation. And the benefits of automation, those processes are well known. So you reduce the mean time to remediation, the mean time to detect, the mean time to response. You are making the teams more efficient, and you have more homogeneous security operations that will not, things will happen in the same way regardless of who is on shift. Right? So the benefits are well known. However, there is very little adoption of automation, in spite of the fact that there has been a lot of investment in mostly in SOAR platform. So I wanted to reflect why has the conventional approach to security automation failed? Well, if not failed, has not completely succeeded. Automation is not implemented to the extent it was intended when those investments were made. And for me, the main reason for that is basically that traditional approach to automation, whether do it yourself or use a SOAR, are very complex. Not everyone in a security operation team can actually use them. You must be very experienced on cybersecurity, but also you must be an experienced software developer, and the number of such profiles is very small. And that turns out into automation being partially adopted. So what's the solution for that? The solution is to provide an automation platform that actually enables everyone to take an automatically driven process and convert that into something that happens automatically without having to develop a single line of code in the process. Yeah, sure, that's a great question. So Torque is delivered as a SaaS platform. It's a software as a service. So we are cloud-based. From the cloud security and cloud compliance standpoint, I think we have our customer covered. We are ISO 27001 certified. We are SOC 2 Type 2 certified. We are GDPR compliant. And basically this gives the, it brings simplicity into also the adoption of Torque, because there isn't anything that you have to deploy actually. Well, pretty much anything. I will cover that a little bit in a little bit more detail in a minute. So you don't have to plan for server or VM infrastructure and take care of the scalability and run software upgrades or anything around that. Torque takes care of all that for you, so you can focus on orchestrating and automating your processes. And then probably the follow-up question on this would be, okay, so then I have to expose my internal security stack to Torque, which is cloud-based. And gladly the answer to that is no. So Torque, while being a cloud-based platform, can seamlessly integrate with hybrid cybersecurity and IT stacks. So Torque can interface with your IT and security systems which are deployed in private infrastructure, whether that is private cloud or legacy private data center infrastructure. So think about probably your SIEM. Your SIEM is not exposed to the internet. Perhaps it is if it is based on a cloud native SIEM platform, but in the most general case it will not be the case, or maybe we have to interface, I don't know, with Microsoft Active Directory, which is obviously not being exposed. So how does this work with Torque? How can we interface with those systems? How can we integrate with hybrid environments? We do that by asking our customers to deploy a piece of software called the Step Runner. The Step Runner is delivered as a Docker container. So basically you can create as many step runners as you want in your Torque environment, and then to deploy them you just have to run a command in either your Docker server or your Kubernetes infrastructure, and that will deploy the step runner. And the step runner, once it is installed, will open an outgoing connection, an outgoing TLS, mutually authenticated connection between that runner and Torque infrastructure. This is compatible with firewalls, with secure web gateways, so that we can integrate with your on-prem infrastructure without you having to change anything, your routing, your security policies, anything.